Hello everybody, welcome back to The Car. Since we are here, that means we have seen yet another new film. The film that we saw this week was none other than the dystopian action prequel, Mad Max Furiosa. Actually, it's Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Let's be as accurate as humanly possible, shall we, DJ? And in our quest of being accurate as humanly possible, what is the score, in your opinion, from a scale of 1 to 10?
7.
I agree with the 7. It's really in line with the previous film. I'm not the hugest fan of Mad Max, but the film at least is very consistent. It does feel like it belongs in the same world. It's not necessarily a film that feels like it's not... It doesn't feel like a waste of time. Pacing's pretty decent. The story's interesting. Acting's done fairly well. We had a couple of issues with the sound. I don't know if that's specific to our theater or if it's in the sound mixing itself, but there were quite a few times actually throughout the film that the sound either didn't work, was mixed poorly, or did not fit the scene.
Yeah, there were some weird sound points where we heard talking and the mouths weren't moving, and then like mouths were moving and sound wasn't happening, or like there was some. I thought the first thing that I thought was just me. Like, did I miss something? The first time it happened, it threw me off.
And there was also a couple of scenes where like an explosion happens and there's no sound. A gun goes off, like they're shooting and the bullets, there's no sound for it. And then we also were missing half of one conversation between two characters. So like I said, I don't know if that's specific to our theaters, but if it isn't, let us know in the comments below if you experienced the same thing. That would be kind of weird. I mean, overall, fairly well done film. It's heavily stylized. There's a couple of scenes where it's kind of uncanny, but it's in line with the last film, so you know, I guess it gets kind of like a pass.
It's a pass.
Well, because it's consistent.
It's also exactly what it's supposed to be. But my cinematography, there's some really, really cool shots and scene settings, but there's some weirdness with the CGI. This one actually suffers a little bit of what happened with like the Star Wars prequels, with some of the like Sin City and stuff, one where they were filmed like 100% CGI. There are scenes in this film, like long scenes, that are 100% CGI backgrounds, and you can tell it's probably wouldn't be so bad if they actually just did the whole thing that way, but half the film is in perfectly set practical effects. So to have like these scenes where the vehicles are driving in actual areas and it's showing and it's all practical, and then there'll be an entire scene for like 30 minutes where they're driving a motorcycle with a CGI background, and it's a little jarring because they keep jumping back and forth between real effects and CGI. I was almost like, just pick one. It didn't actually bother me so much, the full CGI shots. They work, but it actually would have been better if they just did that the whole film, or if they just did practical the whole film. Or maybe even mix them a little bit, but it literally, I'm not kidding, like 20-30 minute scenes, practical, CGI, practical, CGI, practical, like back and forth, and it jars you constantly. It's a little yo-yo-y that way. That was a little bit much. It just, every time I got used to whatever style they were using, they would switch it on me again.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I finally got used to the CGI. Oh, it's gone. Oh, wow, the practical effects are amazing. Oh, it's gone.
Yeah, and there were also just a couple of times when they like zoom in specifically on somebody's face, and it becomes very disorienting. Not really, disorienting is not the right word. It pulls you. The suspension of disbelief gets destroyed.
Yeah.
And you look at it, and it is like 100% CGI, 100% this is on a set, because even them like going from like outside of a car into a car, the interior on the truck when Chris Hemsworth gets into the huge monster truck did not match the next shot, and then they started having like showing the background slightly and him moving in and out with the camera, and it was like, okay, this is on a set, this is CGI, this is not. what he just did.
And there was a lot of that. But otherwise, like, the shots themselves are cool. There's some really good scene setting. I really enjoy Furiosa's character, like her progress throughout the it's episodic. It's really fun to follow, and she barely talks in the entire film, and it's perfect.
Well, it works really well.
It works incredibly well. There's a lot of body language. There's a lot of high stakes action where you know what she's thinking based off just like what's being shown. And she's not the only character that doesn't talk much. Like, there's a ton of scenes where there's very little dialogue. Fury Road did this too quite a bit, where there's a lot of just long set scenes with eyes glaring, and you know the intent of what's happening. It does it really well. It's just when it's not really. I think we both said this. Not Fury Road specifically, but Mad Max is not really our thing. It's a little too gritty, too like depressing for me, really. But I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Fury Road. A lot. More so, I think, because it had a little bit more of a hopeful tone up until towards the end of the film. And it feels like something unique, the way they built it in pieces. It's like in 5 or 6 episodes where it shows her progression. That was really cool. I really enjoyed that. I enjoy the way they put it together. I enjoy the way the pacing, the flow, the character interactions. It's all really good.
Yeah, it's a well put.
For me, it just suffers from not being my thing, and the jarring CGI stuff. That really normally isn't that high on the list for me, but because it tone switched so much, it was almost a little headache inducing. Because you're getting even straight eye strain, because you're getting used to practical effects, then it does the CGI and your eyes strain a little from the change, and then it goes back, and it almost gave me a little bit of a headache about halfway through the film before it kind of calmed down a little bit. The second half of the film is a lot more practical than the first half, and so it works a little better. Other than some of the scenes the close-ups, a lot of the close-up shots are CGI, but there's a lot less of it. Later on, I think, or at least, or they did a better job of blending it. Either way, it stopped hurting as bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really it for me for non-spoilers.
Yeah. Overall, it is a fun film. It's a well put together film. If you like Mad Max, you will really enjoy this, I think, because like I said, if you really liked Mad Max Fury Road, it's consistent. It really feels like it doesn't feel like just a cash grab or anything.
No,
like that. It actually does build into the character, and it also gives you more insight into a character that is interesting in the previous film.
And that's actually probably the reason I liked it too. Is Furiosa in Mad Max Fury Road was a major character that you don't know very much about, other than where she came from. There's not really a lot of like backstory or dialogue or anything. This kind of gives that character some closure. Mad Max, being the other character, already had films. You know where he came from, what his backstory is. But this one gave her some needed like exposure and character development.
And she is an interesting character to follow. I can't say that the film is boring. It has good pacing to it. The story is interesting and it is engaging. Chris Hemsworth, I think, deserves kudos because he did very well.
He played such an amazing villain. He was really convincing as like a horrible human being.
Oh, and that was the thing too, is he's just a horrible human being, and it's not even like he plays like a little bit like slightly insane, I guess, like he's unhinged.
Yeah.
But he also plays it to where it's like he's unhinged, but he's intelligent and aware that he's unhinged.
Right.
In a lot of cases. He just makes some glaringly bad decisions and everybody ends up paying for it.
Yeah.
But overall, just he did really well. He deserves kudos for it. Anna Taylor-Joy always does well in her roles. It is a little bit odd, I think, that they recast Furiosa to be Anya Taylor-Joy. Because
I don't know why.
Because the film does lead immediately into Fury Road. So when Anya Taylor-Joy is playing Furiosa, it's literally within weeks of Fury Road, it seems.
Oh, well. It leads into the other film with a lot of backstory of not just her, but Immortum Joe and others as well.
Yeah.
And it makes it clear this is taking place like right beforehand, up towards the end of it. And you're like, okay, well, this is a different person, but they did pretty well. Yeah. She looks quite a bit different than Charlize Theron does, her portrayal, but she's also younger through most of it, so it works.
Yeah,
it works until it gets too close to the new film, and you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah, at that point,
she changes a lot in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, and it was just one of those things where it's just like she's also barely in it. It feels like she's like the headline actress for the film, and it feels like you don't really see her as Furiosa until probably halfway through the film.
More than halfway, yeah.
Yeah, like right before the first major climax of the film, the first major turning point.
Yeah.
So, anyway, recommend to see it in theaters if you like Mad Max. If you're not a huge fan of Mad Max, I think that you're fine waiting to rent it or buy it digitally or anything like that. It is a good movie. It does deserve kudos, though.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we'll roll into spoilers. Spoilers. I cannot believe that near the end of the film, not only do we see Mad Max, but we see Mad Max fight an older Mad Max in the prequel of the final film, Mad Max Dystopian Road.
Dystopian Road.
Where Mad Max,
Tom Hardy and Mel Gibson. Tom Hardy and Mel Gibson go at it.
It was amazing.
For the ultimate role to play Mad Max. That's funny. Oh, goodness.
I mean, the film is a prequel, so the spoilers are kind of along the lines of like, if you didn't realize that a major character in this prequel film is not in Fury Road.
Well, you know, yeah, but at the same time, like you don't. What happens to him is what the
yeah.
So Chris Hemsworth's character is what was his name?
Deceptus? No.
I forgot it. They named him like 40 times in the film. He even calls her Little
it's
D.
Like Destructus or something.
Yes.
It literally is like, it sounds like a Latin, kind of like a gladiator's name, but it's like I think it's Destructus.
No, so no, but anyway.
Deceptus?
Okay, I have to look it up now.
Yeah,
it's important.
I mean, I really don't have a lot to say, so we can take the time to look it up. I don't really have much to say about the film in the spoilers. Furiosa, he is
Dr. Dementis.
Dementis. He's demented. Dementis. Doctor?
This is Dr. Dementis.
Huh. They never mentioned that he's a doctor in the film.
He just always said Dementis. Dementis.
Yeah, they always call him Dementis. Yeah. He's the main villain of the film, and it really kind of follows along, like, how the world is the way that it is leading into Fury Road.
It's wild because, okay, so Furiosa, in Fury Road, Furiosa came from this place of plenty. This by the time they get there, it's destroyed and gone, and so they give up going there because there's nothing left, which is actually kind of sad because they don't really. We still don't really know why. I don't think they ever said in that film why, nor did they ever say in any other one.
Well, and we wouldn't find out the answer because Furiosa didn't know.
No, exactly. But yeah, it would be nice to know what happened there. But I actually kind of thought maybe that this one would tie into that, like by showing. I kind of thought this was going to be a prequel and sequel. It was going to show her getting to Mad Max and then showing what happened afterwards. But it doesn't. It literally ends it literally ends right where she's loading up the wives in the rig to go.
Yeah.
So it literally leads into the next film, like or into the previous film, straight up. And so I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess not. But the thing is, it comes in 5 acts?
It's like 5 or 6. Yeah.
So the first one has her getting kidnapped from her place by Dementis
folks.
and hit by his people. And then he tries to use her to find the place, and then kind of adopts her. And then it shows her killing her. He kills her mom. And then it moves to chapter 2 where she's like being inundated by him and those people. And then they go to the Citadel and challenge Mortem Joe, who lays the floor with them. So then they go to the gas town in order to take it over. And then he trades her for Gas Town, basically. And then it goes to chapter 3 where she's like trying to get out of the place and everything and get away back home. Meets Jack, and then she ends up saving him from an attack on his rig, and so she joins him. And then 4 is like them together, doing the runs and stuff as a team. Yeah. And they kind of, it doesn't really make it very clear if they're just really close or if they're lovers or what, but they're really close.
I think that they're just close.
Yeah, but they're like really close comrades, and he wants to help her get back home. And there's this really touching scene where she hands him the seed, come with me, and he's like, no, that's for you. And then he gives her an out to get away. But then he gets attacked because Dementis starts a war, takes over the bullet farm. And then he moves on from there, trying to take over everything. And she goes back for him to save him, only for him to get killed in front of her. She ends up removing her own arm to escape. Yeah. That was already damaged on the road away. And then it goes into the final act of the film where she goes after him. She goes back to Mortem Joe and uses him to get at him for revenge.
Yeah.
So it gets really intense, and then it climaxes to like a really absurd degree where she like gets her revenge and then does some really crazy stuff. But each act is like a different point in her life in the wasteland. So it's like her growing up in this nice fantasy land, her seeing what the wasteland's really like, her becoming part of it, her really becoming into it, and then the final act is her moving away and trying to find her way back home, away from the whole Mortem Joe thing. And so it does a really good job of just like summarizing her story in bits that are easy to digest in a really fun and entertaining way. I enjoyed that. I really did. But when it comes to spoilers, I don't really have any bad things to say about the film with spoilers. My biggest complaints are exactly what I said in the non-spoiler. Yep. It's a little jarring on the cinematography, and it's just a little too over the top. Like, just, it's a little gross, is the way I put it. It's a little gross.
The ending the ending specifically.
And it takes a kind of a foul twist for somebody who's supposed to be kind of like a reclamation character, like, hey, I'm moving away from this. Like, her revenge is over the top, but at the same time, like, it's like, okay, I get it. Like, she has become part of the world that she tried to avoid for so long. She's inundated into the wasteland culture, and that's what she's part of now. And I think her taking the wives away was like her way of just like trying and moving away from that. Yeah. So it was just, but other than that, it does a really good job of depicting just the depravity and what people are willing to do when they are desperate. You know, a lot of the Mad Max films have done that. This one just kind of runs it home really hard. That's again not really my thing, but I did enjoy the ride along with the format of the story.
Yeah, I enjoyed the film for what it is. It is just a thing of, it is not really it's not really my kind of film.
Yeah.
But I can appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
It's well put together.
It's a good dystopian film.
Yeah, it's,
like if
it's
you
great dystopian.
if you like dystopian films, this is a really good one because it shows. We watched what was it, like Future World, and that one actually, one of the things I did like about that film, despite being bad, is it does do a good job of showing depravity. This does it better though.
Well, it's great about showing depravity because it's entirely James Franco's depravity put on screen.
Yeah, right. But this kind of film like this, if you just want to see like what humanity is capable of in absolute desperation, like shows or games like Fallout or like people, those are the things people think of. But Mad Max, I think, is one of the ones that is kind of like this little hidden gem in that kind of genre that does a really good job of just depicting without, it's show not tell too. Like one of the things that it talks about in the opening credits, the nuclear like fallout that happened and everything, and they mention it in some of the earlier films. But like one of the tells of that is that there's not like this like people are sickly and have weird disfigurements. His Immortum's sons, one is like really dumb but a brawn, and the other one is really smart but like all disfigured and small. Yeah. And so like they make up, they have to be together to be like a functioning team, and even then they bicker too much. So he's trying to get an heir, but they keep coming out like mutated and damaged. And it's just like, that's the kind of thing that's like, wow, this world is just, really twisted because of all the things that happen. It's wild. Yeah. And it does a good job of just kind of subtly putting that in there without saying what's happening. It's not going, oh, by the way, we live in a world of nuclear fallout and death. Did you know that? Did you know that? Did you know that? It's just, ew, this is gross.
You see the effects of the world without them having to constantly explain this is an effect of the world because of this thing that happened in the world.
And that's actually one of the things that I've nitpicked about a lot of other post-apocalyptic films, especially zombie ones have done this a lot too. Like, they go over the top to make sure you understand how bad things are. Did you know there are zombies out there? No. They're everywhere. They're trying to kill us. They're right there right now. Did you see them over there?
I heard that it's from a certain virus that happened at the beginning of the film.
It's just this one in Planet of the Apes actually was similar too. These kind of films just do a better job of showing what's changed without shoving it down your throat in dialogue, and I appreciate that greatly.
This one is better about doing it than even Planet of the Apes.
Yes.
Planet of the Apes can
a little bit, but this one does
a lot.
More exposition without actual exposition.
It's
which
a
is
lot
something
of show,
that you've,
not tell, yeah.
Which is something you've complained about in some of the films we watched recently. That it's like there's not enough exposition. We need more exposition. Yeah. This one does it. You don't have to explain things. Just show us something. Give us reasoning for where things are, and then we understand a little better.
Well, show us it, make it the focus, and the thing is that the exposition of like this is a nuclear fallout world. It's like the beginning of the film, they have a recap and very famous scene from a nuclear test, and they kind of explain it a little bit, and then in the film they point out what a full life and a half-life is a couple of times, but it's not one of those things where they have to constantly explain, oh, the reason that there's so many half-lives is because of the nuclear event. It's just a thing of like, no, what's happening is that these full life people are rare. They're a commodity. They're not something that's like every single person. Most people, even if they have two full life parents, don't come out that way.
Right.
So it's a good bit of world building. Not even exposition, it's just like world building.
Yeah.
Where you see the world in the way that's practical and why Furiosa would want to leave.
The world feels like it's a real place that exists rather than a scripted event. Like, it really feels alive and real. Like, these are actually people where they are. And to end my comments, like, one of the greatest moments of the entire film for me was when Dementis was on the ground. He's like, oh my god, oh, little D, I've been waiting for you. You're just like me. Like, we're dead. inside. Like, we died a long time ago. We lost everyone we cared about. I lost my family, and I stopped caring at that point. And I do whatever I have to do to feel alive again, and then it flees. I kill, maim, destroy, whatever to feel alive, but it never lasts. And you're gonna find out that we're the same. Like, you're gonna find that chasing that adrenaline just doesn't get you there. It's just never enough. And it was kind of a true tale. It's like he knows he's not a good person. He knows it. He's not demented to it. He's not some kind of psychopath who doesn't understand what he's doing is wrong. He's just trying to feel something.
Well, and he's just a charismatic leader. He tells people what they want to hear because he knows what they want to hear, but he doesn't give it to them.
Yeah. And
all he is he's trying to conquer. He's trying to do all these things, and it's just because he wants to. He turns around to his comrades and it's like, oh, they're taking this from us, and we need to rile against them, and look how awful they are. And it's literally like they point out in dialogue, and this is another good thing, like it is a bit of exposition, but it's done well in dialogue. Like, it doesn't feel like here's Joe with the exposition. It's like, no, they're talking about an actual event, and they're like, he's running this thing into the ground, and we're giving them lots of food, we're giving them lots of things. I'm telling you, we need to remove him because he's literally driving them into the ground. It's getting worse. And then the world continues on. That's where exposition works well, where it's not like, oh, here's so-and-so with the exposition. It's like, no, they're having a conversation, and it's moving the plot along, and it is a plot scene, but it makes sense why everybody is there and why they are saying what they're saying.
Right.
So they play that really well, and Dementus is a good villain because he really is just manipulative. He just has a charismatic personality, and he points out what he is doing and projects it onto the people that he's trying to overthrow.
Yep.
Which is genius.
And the thing is, he proves it very clearly and convincingly when he says that he just wanted to feel something, because he goes to war and he loses miserably and he feels nothing. He's driving away with like his lieutenants, and he's like, whatever, it was fun, we tried, it was a good time.
Yeah,
like, we
gotta go our separate ways.
We're done, let's go have fun, bye. Yeah. And it's like, that's it. Like, he just doesn't care. Like, nothing gives him any, he doesn't feel anything anymore. And you can tell by the way he ends it out, like, just unceremoniously. He's just like, well, we tried.
Well, and he refuses to give her the victory. That's a good villain. Like, he refuses to give her the victory because this entire time we're thinking, oh, he's going to grovel, he's going to do something. And then when Furiosa makes her demands, we're like, oh my gosh, she's just a wounded child. She's demanding something that any rational person would be like, well, you can't give that. But then on top of that, he doesn't give her the satisfaction. Like, he's literally, he ends the way
give
that
me my
he's
family back.
lived.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
What you want from me, I can't give you. And he actually, it's almost sobering because he apologizes to her sincerely. Like, he's like, I can't give you what you want. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you're after something I don't have.
Because
I'm not going to grovel. I'm not going to grieve.
Yeah.
I'm not going to beg to you. That's not who I am.
He even gives her pointers on like how to make it worse for him.
Yeah.
Like, he literally is like, no. If you're going to execute somebody, you execute them from behind, because then they don't know when the shot's coming. And, oh, wow, I'm being tortured so much by this. My brain's just going to be a red mist, and it's going to be over anyway, so why do I care?
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing, is he refused to give her the satisfaction, which she drove more into her depravity, proving that she was more like Dementus.
Yep.
In her depravity, because she really did not like the fact that he just wouldn't give her any kind of satisfaction in his death. Even when he's like got the tree growing out of him.
Yep.
You can kind of tell that, like, yes, he's in a lot of pain, but he's not going like, oh, I'm so sorry, Furiosa.
No, he's actually taking it pretty strongly. He's sitting there like, yeah, this is my fate.
He's just like, yep, this is where I'm at.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things where it's good character work. It works very well. And yeah, oh wow, spoilers. Obviously, Dementus is not in Fury Road, and Furiosa is, so.
Neither is Jack. He doesn't make it either.
Yeah.
That was actually a really cool story, her and Jack.
Yeah.
That was a really cool thing, and they did do justice by killing him, but they do it kind of off screen. Sort of. They drag him behind the...
They don't show the body. They don't fixate on it. They just kind of do a thing where it's clear that he's going to die. Because they drag him along around
and then
have
the dogs chase after him. Yeah.
And have the dogs chase after him, but then they do a time skip. So you're like, oh, he's been going around that for hours. He is... If the dogs didn't get him, then the sand has ripped his flesh apart.
Yeah, he's dead.
They don't show it.
He's dead, yeah. Which was weird, though, because they were so gory throughout most of the film, and, like, one of the most important characters, like, gets an unceremonious, like, off-screen death.
Well, I mean, it's kind of dignified.
Exactly.
It gives the character a little bit of dignity. We don't remember him as a heaping mess or much of a failure. The last time that we see Jack, he is trying to stand up. It's just they're moving too fast for him.
Yeah.
And that's the last time that we see him.
Yeah.
So we still have the memory of him the way that Furiosa wanted to remember him.
I was actually kind of hoping they wouldn't kill him, that he'd get away, and that would set it up for her to have someone to look for later. But it did make sense to kill him. It does.
Well, it also explains why she has some kind of kinship with Max.
Yes.
Which it works well to set up the next film. A good prequel enhances the original film.
The only thing I think that detracted from it was how she treated Dementis, because it kind of spoils her, like, her character in Mad Max, because it's never made perfectly clear that she's, like, moved on to something better. This kind of makes it seem like she's given into the wasteland a little bit more than she did in Fury Road. But either way, it still works.
Well, Fury Road, it's like she had this, like, reputation.
Yeah.
And then it turned out that, no, she had, like, a huge soft spot for these slave wives.
Yeah.
This one, it's just like, oh, yeah, she's actually just brutal and ruthless.
Yeah.
On top of everything else. So.
Yeah. It does a good job of making it clear why Mortem Joe trusted her as an imperator.
Oh, yeah.
Like, oh, yeah, she gained his trust. That makes sense. Like, she earned it, honestly.
Well, and she did. And it's like, yeah, she was planning on escaping. She was planning on doing all these things the entire time. But she did good work.
Yep.
Like, you can't argue with results. And she used that to gain his trust so that she had more freedom, so that she had more powers, so that she was able to build what she wanted to build.
Right.
And you could kind of tell why it is that she was given so much freedom, but also why she was so resourceful in Mad Max Fury Road. It was good character building.
The only thing that bothers me still to this point is that they never really talk about her getting away. Like, Mortem Joe or nobody ever really mentions it, ever. And she stayed there the entire time, like, becoming part of the team. And no one was ever like, hey, what happened to that one girl that we had as a wife? Like, Mortem Joe just, like, was like, whatever. The perfect woman who was, like, clean, that I could have used to finally have my heir. You just, like, That was a little weird. But other than that, it was fine. Yeah. All right, that's it for me. I'm done.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching this. We hope that you enjoyed this video, our review, and then talking just details and spoilers and stuff in general. We try to watch a new movie every single week, and we also watch bad movies and make fun of them, old movies, and revisit them, and just talk about movie topics in general. So if that interests you, if you like movies like we like movies, you'll like this channel, so please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Otherwise, share us with your friends. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. What did you think about Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga, or heck, dystopian movies in general? We're always open to what you guys have to say, and if you have suggestions for a podcast or something like that regarding dystopian films, we're more than willing to hear those in the comments below. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in the next video.
Thank you for watching.